Hey there and welcome. I want you to forget everything you think you know about boring grammar rules. Seriously, today we're putting on our detective hats because verb tenses, they aren't just rules, they're clues. They're like a secret code that tells us exactly when something happened. And you know what? Understanding them is kind of like solving a really cool puzzle. So let's grab our magnifying glasses and crack our first case. Okay, here's our first mystery. These two sentences look almost identical, right? But they paint completely different pictures in your mind. One just states a simple fact, an action that's done and dusted. The other one, though, it drops you right into the middle of an ongoing scene. That tiny difference is the key to telling a truly compelling story. So let's figure out what's really going on here.
First up, we're investigating the present, the here and now. The main trick is just knowing the difference between something you do all the time, like a habit, and something you are doing this very second. It sounds pretty simple, but this is where we find our first set of really crucial clues.
So, check this out. On the left, you've got your regular routine, a habit, something that just happens over and over. You'll see clue words like usually or every morning. But on the right, we're talking about a specific action that's happening right now. For that, you're going to hear clues like at the moment or today. One is your life's routine. The other is what's happening as we speak.
All right, your turn to be the detective. Take a look at this sentence. We've got two different actions here and two super clear clues. Which tense do you think fits in each of those blanks? Go on, take a second to think about it.
And there's our solution. Usually points to her normal habit, so we use goes. But today signals a change, right? It's an action happening in this specific time frame, so it has to be is staying. See? Once you spot the clues, the whole thing just clicks into place. It's perfectly logical.
Okay, let's travel back to the past and see how things get even more interesting. This is where your stories can get really complex and, honestly, a lot more dramatic. We're not just listing off events anymore. We're talking about how different actions in the past can overlap and even interrupt each other. I want you to picture this timeline. That long, continuous bar, that's our background action, something that was already going on, like I was reading. Then, bam, that little intersecting point cuts right in. The phone rang. It's all about setting a scene and then introducing a key event that suddenly changes things. So here's the big takeaway. We use the past continuous, was reading, for that long background action that got interrupted. And we use the simple past, rang, for the short, sharp action that did the interrupting. Just learning this one structure can make your storytelling so much more dynamic. It's a real game changer. Now we get to the advanced stuff. The perfect tenses. Think of these as your ultimate detective tool. They aren't just about what happened in the past. They're about showing the exact order of events, especially when you're juggling more than one thing.
Okay, let's break it down. We have two separate events in the past. They leave, and then we arrive. The challenge is, how do we link them to show which one happened first? A sentence like, by the time we arrived, they had already left, makes that timeline crystal clear. The leaving happened before we ever showed up.
And that's the whole secret of the past perfect. That little word had, as in had left, is like a giant flashing signpost. It's screaming, hey, pay attention. This action happened before the other past action I'm about to tell you about. It's all about making the timeline of your story totally clear for your listener.
Think about this one. For your entire life, up to a certain point, you had never tried sushi. Then you went to Japan. To connect those two ideas, you say, I had never eaten sushi before I went to Japan. That had firmly places the not eating experience in the time before the trip happened. Simple, right?
All right, let's hop in our time machine and zoom into the future. And guess what? Just like with the past, we can talk about future events in different ways. We can talk about an action that will be in progress, or we can talk about an action that will be totally finished by a certain point in time. And yep, you guessed it. It all comes down to the clues again. If you're zeroing in on a specific moment and describing what will be happening right then, like this time next week, you're going to use the future continuous. But if you're setting a deadline and saying an action will be finished by that time, like by this time next year, you need the future perfect. Okay, your turn to predict the future. Look at the clue phrases in each of these sentences. One is about an action that will be happening at a specific future moment. The other is about an action that will be done and dusted by a future deadline. How would you fill in those blanks? Let's see how you did. For the first one, this time next week, that action is ongoing, so it will be relaxing. Makes sense.
For the second one, the clue is the deadline, by this time next year. That means the action is complete. So for graduating college, we'd say, I will have graduated.
You've done it. You've gathered all the clues. You've mastered the present, the past, and the future. So now it's time for the final challenge, where we're going to mix it all together. You ready, detective? Let's solve these last few cases.
Okay, quick one. Think back to our timeline with the long background action and the short interrupting one. Which tense goes where?
Exactly. The long background activity was watching, and the short interruption was arrived. See? You're already getting the hang of this.
Now for a trickier one. Imagine you're leaving a note for someone. The reading is happening now, in the present, but your leaving happened just a little bit before that. How do we connect those two moments in time?
And here's the solution. By the time you read this, sets the scene in the present. To connect that present moment to something that happened just before it, we use the present perfect. I have already left. It's like building a little bridge from the very recent past to right now.
Well, you've officially earned your detective's toolkit. Just remember the core skills. Always be on the lookout for those clue words. Try to picture the timeline in your head. And always ask yourself, is this action ongoing or is it finished? And maybe most importantly, which one happened first? With these tools, you can solve any tense mystery that comes your way.
And really, that's what this is all about. This isn't just some boring academic exercise. This is about being a better communicator, a better writer, and a better storyteller. It's about taking all those jumbled events in your head and laying them out in a way that is clear, powerful, and totally precise.
So, as we close this case file, the real question is for you. You now have the tools to basically control time with your words. You can paint a vivid picture of a single moment, build suspense with a well-timed interruption, and lay out a complex history with perfect clarity. So, what story are you going to tell?